In this BPA training video, we'll show you how to set up the appointment scheduler so that it's ready for your practice. One of the first things oftentimes clinics will want to do as they look at the scheduler is adjust the columns that are available, setting which providers are available or resources. To do that is very simple. At the upper right, we click on the Setup button and then select the option to set up for all days. In here, as you can see, we can select which location we want to first of all configure. And once we have the configuration or the location selected, below here is where we can configure each day of the week. So we select that day by checking the checkbox. And as you can see here for Sunday, we can see what our current timings are, what rooms are available, the slot times, and lunch timings. And at the far right-hand side is where we actually make those adjustments if needed. For Sunday, as you can see here, we have 0 to 0, meaning we're not in the office and no rooms are available. But if we jump to a day like Wednesday, we can see again a summary of what we have configured and make any changes we need to on the right-hand side. You can see we have the start time and end time selected, how long the slot times are in the appointment grid, and how many rooms are available. We also can check the checkbox to indicate a lunch period and set the times for that. We can configure or change any of this if we need to. We can add more rooms or remove rooms. And what that does is down below, we'll add or remove rows here where we can select providers. Now just focusing on that for a second, as we click on a provider here or a room, you'll notice we can change the provider if we need to. We also have an option to the right to select something called overbooking. So what this allows us to do is provide warnings or alerts or even prevent a provider from being overbooked for a certain time slot. As we can see here for this particular provider, for Scott, we set to 0. That allows us to continue to add appointments for the same time. But for the James Smith provider, we have overbooking set to 2, so limiting it to 2 appointments at a specific time. And we have the checkbox checked, which if we try to add a third appointment, it will actually block us from doing that. So we have some options with overbooking in these providers or resources. Now, once we've made any changes, we can click the Save button, and that will apply to our ongoing schedule. I'll hit Cancel here. So as you can see, that's what we have for our current day. Now, the system does allow you to use the same provider and make multiple columns for them. We usually recommend it's best just having a single column per provider or resource. There's several benefits to that. A main one has to do with the patient portal. As patients perhaps look at the schedule or make appointments if that's desired, then it ensures that it shows up in the right place. Now, in addition to configuring the columns for the practice, we can also set up what are called blocks. And you can see this big black block here. Maybe there's a time frame, a certain day of the week or weekly that you just don't want appointments to be made. To do that, we click on the Setup button and then select Blocking Scheduler. This is pretty straightforward to configure. As you can see above, we have our block that we already have on the scheduler. But to make a new block, we just click the New Block Details button at the bottom. And we can give our block a name, or if we wanted to, we could select an appointment reason. In this case, we'll just say no appointments, blocking, or give it whatever name you feel is appropriate. Then you can set in the timing. If you want this to be something that's daily, weekly, monthly, or yearly, we'll leave it at daily in this case, and select when it starts. We can choose if there's an end date or if this will be continuous. In this case, we'll just say for the next few weeks here, and choose a time frame. We'll say from 11 to 11:59. We can choose the reoccurrence, how many providers that this affects, or if it's all of them. And here's an important checkbox. If we don't want appointments to be made during this blocking time, we want to check this checkbox. We'll hit Save and show you what that looks like. We now have a blocking time that will display in our window. And of course, we can modify that by going back into the settings and deleting that block if we want. But going forward, if we try to put in an appointment on this time slot, you'll notice we'll get an error saying we can't do that. Another aspect that we'll want to set up as part of our appointment configuration is at the upper right is going into setup and choosing appointment reason. You might be aware that when we make a new appointment in the system, we need to choose a reason related to that appointment on the right-hand side, and different reasons can be associated with different providers. As you can see, the massage therapist resource has these reasons, but if I switch to James Smith, many more reasons are available for him. So to configure that, we'll go to Setup and Appointment Reason. Now, if we want to see again what each provider has available to them to start off, we can select that provider or resource, and we'll see what's available in the list below. If we want to add something, we simply click on the search reason, and if we have it already entered in, we can choose an existing reason that can be added into the list here. So we'll just pick something, hit OK, and it adds it as an available option for that provider. If we need to make a new reason, at the upper right is where we click on Show Reason List. This will show all of the reason codes in the system and allows us to add a new one. We just click the plus button, we simply type in the reason that we want and the duration and hit OK, and that will allow us to save that. We also have a video that talks about making multiple reasons where once we have a provider that maybe has several options or several reason or appointments to be handled at once. For example, as you can see here, active care and massage. We have a video that describes making that in detail, so feel free to check that out. But you'll want to set up your reason codes so that the appointments can be connected to a given reason. Another thing you'll want to set up as part of your appointment configuration are the colors. Now, these are completely configurable as well. As you can see here for Linda Abbott, it's kind of an orangish color. And on the left-hand margin of each appointment, there's also an option to select a color as well. So to configure that, at the upper right, we'll go to, our name, and then go to Color Settings. And you notice at the upper left, it should default you to appointments, but make sure to click this if not. And here's where you can click on and adjust the colors for different categories of appointments based upon their status, as you can see. So if someone's booked, this is the color and what the appointment will look like, if they've canceled, and so on. The top box is the background color, and then the bottom box, as you can see, is the text color, and we get a little preview of what that would look like to the right. But we can simply click in these boxes and change it as we'd like, and we'll see again that preview update. Down below, we have the colors related to the reason. So whatever reason we have selected for that appointment, it will also show a color indicator, and we can adjust those as we scroll down for the various reasons in the system. Now, these have a little bit more options. If we were to click on the color box here, we have a little bit more options to drag around a color. We also have a color picker, this little eyedrop button. If we click on that, we can actually choose an existing color from up above if we want something to match. We can even drag this to other screens on our computer. If there's some other color that we like and want to grab, we can choose that and it'll pick that color right for us. Once we're done, we can hit OK. If we don't like the colors, or maybe it's gotten too off from what we would like, we can restore the defaults and certainly start over as well. In addition to the color settings, another important setting that we'll want to configure for our scheduler, if we again click our name at the top and go to User Preferences, we have an option here on the left-hand side for Scheduler. Now this is really nice. We can choose a number of different options related to the window we were just in, Appointment Color Scheme. As I mentioned, the major part of an appointment will be a certain color, and then the far left margin will be another color. Well, the major color, we can choose if it's based on the status of the appointment, like if a person's checked in or canceled, or if we want the major part of that color indication of that appointment to be based on the reason. For example, if it's an adjustment or a massage, what color indication will it show? So we can choose one of those two. Often clinics like the reason-wise color scheme. At the left-hand side, we also have some other options available to us. We can designate what text will show up on an appointment line. So sometimes keeping it simple can be really helpful. Maybe we don't need to see the MRN number, their date of birth, and so on. And we might want to keep our appointments rather simple. Maybe we do want to see the phone number and maybe just not much else. So we could turn off a number of different things and get the appointment showing up just like we like it. So this is how appointments will show in the grid, but you also notice that when you hover your mouse over an appointment, it gives additional information. And that's, if we click this drop down here, that's called the appointment tooltip. So we can select that when we hover over an appointment, maybe more information will be displayed to us. Maybe we still want the patient's name, but in addition to just seeing the text that is always there, we can also see the appointment reason and the copay, maybe some other information. So we can configure that as we like. And please notice there's other options here too that you can configure and work with. For example, refresh scheduler, we can turn that on to automatically help with refreshing the scheduler. So once we have that the way we want it, we can click the OK button at the bottom right. Well, we can go back into our scheduler and just see what a couple of those changes look like, especially with regards to the text of the appointment. You can see here we have a lot less information now that shows, but if we hover, we get the information that we desire for our clinic. That's a wrap up of setting up the appointment window in iPatient Care eChiro EHR. Again, we hope you found this video helpful. Thanks for watching.